bhāgavata-sevayā. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirayet Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityaṁ bhāgavata-sevayā. Bhagavati Uttamashloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. Munaya sadhu prishtoham bhavadbhirlokamangalam yat krita Krishna samprashno yena atma suprasidati. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Brinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadbhaktaya Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna, dear worshipable devotees. Thank you so much for joining. We are reading Grantaraj Srimad-Bhāgavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 7, entitled The Killing of Demon Trinavrata. So we were talking about Trinavrata, and we read till text number, which text we read? 21. Yes, we read till 21. So Trinavrata, the whirlwind demon, created a huge, whirlpool of dust, and the whole land of Gokula, with particles of dust acting as a strong whirlwind, that demon covered everyone's vision and began vibrating everywhere with great fearful sound. So this was Trinavrata. We covered that. We saw some pictures as well of Trinavrata. We saw some videos as well, how these whirlwind tornadoes can be so powerful. They uproot anything and everything which comes in their way. So I'm going to discuss some lessons also. Trinavrata means to dig away big grasses. Trina. It's very, very strong. And the demon, the doubt, the demoniac propensities outside world, they blur our vision. They do not let us see Krishna properly. So we were at that point. Now we move on to the next verse, text 22. Muhuratam abhavad ghoshtam rajasa tamasavritam sutam yashoda napashyat tasmin yastavati yataha. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. For a moment, the whole pasturing ground was overcast with dense darkness from the dust storm, and Mother Yashoda was unable to find her son where she had placed him. Wow. So, very nice verse here. What has happened? The whole environment is full of dust. By this demoniac influence of Trinavrata. What do demoniac propensities or demoniac forces? So this Trinavrata is just not happening in Vrindavan. This is happening every day in our lives, in my life. Because the Trinavrata of doubt, the Trinavrata of confusion, the Trinavrata of Maya, the Trinavrata of demoniac propensities, what happens when they are heavy, or when their influence is strong? Rajasa tamasa vritam. So they had created a tamas. Tamas means darkness. On agyan timirandasya jnananjana shalakaya. So timi or tamas. So the other meaning is that the rajas and tamas, in passion and ignorance, our eyes are covered to see Krishna, or to see bhakti, or to see devotion. So Sutam Yashoda na pashyat. She could not see Krishna. Why? Because of darkness, dense darkness. And that's the prayer we Om Agyan Timirandhasya, was born in the greatest darkness. The Guru comes and opens our eyes with a torchlight of knowledge. Jnana Deepena Bhasvata. So in passion and ignorance, that means in mode of passion, mode of ignorance, which is darkness, we cannot see Krishna. So we need to rise above the modes. Then the vision becomes clear, right? Otherwise the vision is blurred. So she was not able to find, where is my Krishna? Because everywhere it's darkness, everywhere it's dust. So that was Mata Yashoda's situation. Let's see what happens further. And that's our situation too. Yes, Vijaya, Mataji, would you like to read, please?
Yes, Prabhuji. Text 23. Na pasyatascha na atmanam param cha api vimohitah trunavata nishtrustabihi sarkarabhiru padrutah. Translation. Because of the bits of sand thrown about by Tronavrat, people could not see themselves or anyone else, and thus they were illusioned and disturbed. Hare Krishna. Prabhuji.
Thank you, Mataji. So as we were discussing this Trinavrata, the meaning is that he had uprooted a lot of sand, the bits of sand thrown by, and the grasses also. Trina means grass, right? Trina, we discussed that meaning. Trina, the P, Suni, Chena. So that's a good lesson to learn from the grass, to be humble like a blade of grass. Trina, Trina, Tarora, Iva Sahishnuna, the very, very famous verse. But here, the vision is blurred. People could not see themselves or anyone else. Isn't that interesting? Ahankara vimudatma kartaham iti manyati. Ahankar happens to whom? The person who is in Rajas and Tamas. One cannot even see themselves. One cannot understand one's own strengths and weaknesses in mode of passion and ignorance. It takes a sober person to understand once that this is my area for improvement. And only a humble person in the mode of goodness or Sattvagun or pure Sattvagun will even reflect upon it. So basically ignorance blinds us of others' good also, and our weaknesses also. In the ignorance, but covered by the dust of demons of false ego, we don't see good in others. We can't see Krishna. We can't see Vaishnavas or the great qualities in them, because one is puffed up by one's own false prestige. Ahankara vimudatmaka. I am great. No one is better than me. And people could not see themselves or anyone else. And thus they were illusioned and disturbed. That's pretty much the situation of the whole world these days. So could not see the greatness in others. And what happens? One starts to see fault in others. That's even worse. It's okay to not see the greatness. That's like the positive scale. But neutral is still better than going down. Down scale is like seeing faults. If one can't see good, at least don't speak the bad or don't see the bad. Right? There are like 5 kinds of people which we have discussed multiple times. Let's maybe cover that and make some notes here. So we'll go from 5. They only see bad, even there is none. Right? That means no matter how many great qualities that person may have, but a person, the 5th category, the lowest one, will only see the bad, even the person, like Duryodhana, seeing the bad in everyone, even like great personality like Dharmaraj Yudhishthira, he will see only bad, puffed up by. 4, they see good and bad, but emphasize or emphasize the bad. Right? So they're seeing it, but their focus is on the bad. The 3rd category, they see good and bad and kind of speak both. And so sometimes, like they're like, sometimes they will speak good qualities about the person, but they don't know, but he has a lot of bad qualities too. So good and bad. In short, they're focusing on both. They're at least one level up. They are acknowledging that this person has some good qualities too, but he has a lot of bad qualities as well. Then number 2, they see good and bad, but focus on good only, ignore the bad. This is a very nice level to be in. Madhyam Adhikari, as sadhakas or devotee, this is what we should aspire for. This is possible. This should be our goal. And number 1 is they can't and don't see bad at all. This is like a Paramhamsa level, which we can't artificially imitate, right? But this is like the Param. They, even in a drunkard, they will see, wow, wish I would be intoxicated like him in the nectar of Krishna's holy name. Right? So like that, they only see good. They like Yudhishthira Maharaj. After searching a lot, he could not find anyone bad than him, right? So at least this is number 2. We should be our goal. 1 should not be premature, but so in the mode of, the point here is in the mode of passion, false pride. No, we should see bad in ourselves and try to work upon that, because there's a lot to improve in my own self, rather than pointing fingers on others. Hey, you have to improve this. And 3 fingers are pointing to me. I have to focus more on my own improvement. But one is covered with dust, they cannot see. They only see good in themselves, and they don't see any bad in themselves. And they see bad in everyone else, and they see no good in others. Because of pride, because of blindness, spiritually blind, like Dhritarashtra, like Duryodhana. So one more point here, which Yashoda could not find out where is my baby Krishna, as we read in the last verse. Now the gopis are saying to Yashoda, hey, they're kind of a little bit showing their anger. Where did you keep Krishna? How can you be so careless about Krishna? They're showing their anger for not seeing Krishna. And this leads to miscommunication, misunderstanding. It's not that Yashoda, no one loved Krishna more than Yashoda. It's not that Yashoda wanted Krishna to be out of sight or in any kind of danger, but somehow he's missing in action, right? Of course, the spiritual reasons we know that it is to increase the love of the gopis and of Mata Yashoda. But the other side also, there's a lot of beautiful lessons that leads to miscommunication, misunderstanding, which can happen in Vaishnava community as well, because of Rajas and Tamas, as we read in the last verse. So when we see good in others and try to be on the mode of goodness and pure goodness, then certainly in that family, in that community, these misunderstandings will be very, very minimal. And because everyone, will not be judgmental, right? Will not be judgmental, because these mode of passion and ignorance leads to being judgmental. Hey, it's because of you the things didn't go right. Hey, you didn't do your part rightly. Hey, I did my part rightly, but I know how to do things. You don't know how to do things, and all that happens. So that's exactly what is happening. Makes proud mentality creates distances. One who is proud, like Duryodhana, Dhritarashtra, no one loved Duryodhana as a king. I mean, externally they will say, yes, you are great, you are leader, you are your king, you are this. But he was very far in the hearts of the citizens. On the contrary, our great devotees, kings, Raj Rishi, like Dharmaraj, Yudhishthir Maharaj, like Sri Ramachandra, they were very close to the hearts of the citizens because of their humility. Pride mentality creates distances. Humility creates love, friendship, affection, and closeness in the hearts. Any other thoughts, comments in these two verses so far? Okay, let's move to the next one, 24. Yes, Sudhir Prabhu, you want to read, please? Vipul Prabhu?
Can I read the next one, Prabhuji?
Sure, yeah. Prem Sankirtan Prabhu?
Yes, Hare Kṛṣṇa Prabhu. Hare Kṛṣṇa devotees, Dandavat Pranam, Jai Srila Prabhupada. Text 24. Iti khara pavana chakra pamshu varshe shuta padabim abala bilaksha mata oti karunam anusmaranti ashochad bhubi patita mrita vatshaka jatha goho. Translation by His Divine Grace, S.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada. Because of the dust storm stirred up by the strong whirlwind, Mother Yashoda could not find no trace of her son, nor could she understand why. Thus she fell down on the ground like a cow who has lost her calf and began to lament very pitifully. So here Srila Shukadeva Goswami is explaining about Mother Yashoda's feelings, her emotion, because of the separation of Lord Krishna. So we can see here one thing, like I was just thinking, like as Prabhu was mentioning before, that nice reflection in myself, like when I become angry or then I cannot find any good to others. Even the person may have a lot of good things. I mean, that whirlwind of anger kind of like block. So that's what I was thinking, that, and even couldn't understand, I mean, what's happening, what's going to happen. I can say everything, anything. And at the same time also, we are seeing that Mother Yashoda, I mean, in this next line, her emotion, like, I mean, from this story, we can see that it may be within 1 or 2 minutes it's happened. Like she left Krishna and because he was heavy, and then just then Trinabharta came. But right away she felt this separation of Krishna. Hare Krishna Prabhu, back to you. Please add or correct.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Let's put ourselves in the role of Mata Yashoda. Then only we will understand the pain of her young 12-month-old baby who was, remember how the story started? She was playing with a child, very playfully, lifting her up high in the air. Child would come down. Child would feel, Bal Gopal would feel joyful, and the mother naturally gets joy, seeing the joy on the face of the baby. Everything was fine. She just kept the baby because she was feeling the baby is too heavy, and suddenly now it's gone because of the whirlwind demon. Great separation, great separation, great separation. Imagine a mother whose baby is lost and there's no clue. And everyone is asking, where is Krishna? Where is Krishna? In the last verse we read, right? They could not even see themselves. They could not see others. What? No. And this, like, just imagine, we are like, no one can see what's going on. It's like complete darkness, complete. And who are the most vulnerable in these situations, right? The little ones, right? Those who are helpless. At least an adult can run and go inside the house or something, or but little 12-month-old, they cannot walk, they cannot run, they cannot do anything, right? They are the most vulnerable. Therefore, in Vedic society, what do we say? First, take care of the elders and the kids. They're the most vulnerable. They need the protection the first. Of course, all these principles are gone. These days, hardly, those principles are followed. But our Vedic society is to take care of the kids because they're the future, and the elders because they have so much wisdom, the first. Then that society will be really blossoming, where the kids, elders, and women are protected and cared for. And the analogy is given here like a cow who has lost her calf. Began to lament and very pitifully, like a cow, in great separation from her beloved calf. The beloved Krishna is lost. My child is gone. I can't find, there's no trace of her, right? In at least the Damodar Leela, Krishna left some trace, and mother was not so much scared, like, because she found, okay, there was no like darkness or nothing like that. And she was not that scared. She knew that Krishna has done this mischief and ran to the other room. But there is no trace. Everything is so pitch dark. Tamas has been created. Everyone is kind of blaming also her. Hey, it's because of you. Then Krishna is missing in action. Why did you just leave him? Why you didn't properly take care of him? Misunderstanding, miscommunication, blindness, dust, false ego. And look at her pitiful situation. She is so disturbed. She is in great viraha, or separation. Now, why does Krishna make his devotee like lament pitifully? Right? Only to increase the love. Right? I remember, my brother was lost one time. We were on a yatra. My brother was like missing in action pretty much. Again, I don't know the story from my memory. I know the story because when I grew up, my mother told me the story. He must be like 6, 7 years old. I must be like 3 or 4 years old. So I hardly knew what happened. But anyways, so this happened, and children are very, and in India at that time, hardly any cell phone usage, and all these things were not so common like 20 years back, 25 years back, so 30 years back. Time is flying fast. So yeah, I was maybe like 3, 4 years. He must be 6, 7 years. He was lost. And we were supposed to go. It was at some holy place. I forgot the name. And he was lost for like 4 or 5 hours. And we were supposed to take a train. And then people knew that it happens quite often. It happens there. Therefore, if you have been to like Haridwar, and there are announcements going on. ये बच्चा जिसने लाल टी शर्ट और पीली पैंट पहनी है खो गया है, जिसके माता पिता जहाँ पे हैं इधर आइए. Have you heard that? If you have been, all these announcements go. And then, but there were no such announcements also at that place. But fortunately, my parents had, knowing the good advice from someone, they had kept like sheets like paper in our pockets, that in case this child is missing, bring them here. So fortunately, some good souls. And then at that time, people were more pious, and the cultures were still there. So someone out of nowhere, they brought my brother when we were about to take a train back to our city. But the point was, now again, you may wonder, like, were my parents happy? Of course, yes. But they were chastising and scolding him, right? Why were you lost? Why you don't hold the hands? Why all blah, 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 blah. Like, they are in their joy, they are expressing that anger or chastisement. But the point here is Krishna increases the love. You can relate through these stories, Of course, material love of the humanly mother cannot, is very, very, it's just an iota of Krishna's love towards his child. Or Mata Yashoda's love towards Krishna. It is infinitely more than any human can ever love. And same is Krishna's love towards all of us as jivas and his servants as well. And this Prabhupada mentions in the story of Dhruv Maharaj. Why did Suniti, as a mother, as a kind, caring, loving, great mother, allow little Dhruva, who was just 5 years old, to go in the jungle where wild animals and bears and boars and wild dogs and leopards and lions can practically rip apart him in like 1 second? Why did she allow? A sane person would ask that question. Because she had firm faith. Krishna's love, Prabhupada writes this, surpasses love of millions of mothers put together. Millions of mothers put together. That's Krishna's love. Same is Mata Yashoda's love towards his Bal Gopal. And that Gopal is missing now. Imagine her situation. We cannot comprehend. But this is what Mata Yashoda is going through. Cow's love is much more than a human mother towards the cow. So a human mother towards her child, multiply that with 1,000,000 times is cow's love towards her cow. Unfortunately, in this day and age, so many cows go through that pain that they're because of so many bad practices, meat industry and all that. A lot of calves are killed, cows are killed, and a lot of bad practices happen. So we must try our best to serve Mother Cow also. Yes, 25 or Triple Trouble, you want to read?
Thank you, Prabhuji. Dandavat pranam, all devotees, all goes to Śrīla Prabhupada, text 25. Nityaṁ anushamaya tatra gopayo vrisham anutapto diyasru purna mukhayo rurur udur anupallavyo nandasunam pavana uporato pamshu varshe bhege. Translation by his divine grace is Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Śrīla Prabhupada ki joy. Translation: when the force of dust storm and the winds subsided, Yashoda's friends, the other gopis, approached Mother Yashoda, hearing her pitiful crying, not seeing Krishna present. They too felt very much aggrieved and joined Mother Yashoda in crying, their eyes full of tears. Purport: this attachment of the gopis to Krishna is wonderful and transcendental. The center of all activities of the gopis was Krishna. When Krishna was there, they were happy. And when Krishna was not there, they are unhappy. Thus, when Mother Yashoda was lamenting Krishna's absence, the other ladies also began to cry. So here we see that how the other gopis who loves Krishna more than their own children, and Krishna is their life and soul. So definitely in absence of Krishna, they are as sorrow and sad as Mother Yashoda. Back to Prabhuji. Hare Kṛṣṇa.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. So, when the force of dust storm subsided, so it looks like the dust storm, when it is at the ground level, there is more dust because it's near the surface of the land level. Now it has gone a little up or moved a distance. So naturally the dust is settling. And when the dust settles, they are able to see clearly. And then Mata said, hey, I kept Krishna here only. A 12-month baby cannot run, cannot move, cannot climb stairs, cannot do, anything on its own practically, right? Am I correct? 12-month-old, can they do? Can they do running and jogging, swimming? No, right? So there's no chance for him to move on his own. But now he's not there. He's missing. He's missing. So everyone is crying in pain. And there's a beautiful lesson here. The center of all activities of the gopis was Krishna. And who are we? Or trying to be, right? We're saying this famous verse connected to gopis. Gopir bhartur pad kamalayor das 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 anudas. Right? Lord Chaitanya said this famous verse. I'm not a brahmana, na vipra, na shudra, na brahmana, na grihastha, na vanaprastha. Let's read that famous verse. Na ham vipro.
So this verse is Naham Vipra Nacha Narapati Na Api Vaishya Na Shudra Naham Bonni Nacha Grihapati Navanasta Jatiru Kintu Pradiyan Nikhila Paramananda Punnamritabdir Gopi Bhattu Padakamulayar Dasha Dashanudash.
Who wants to read the translation? Anyone? Yes, Vaswati Mata, you can read, please.
I'm not a Brahmana, I'm not a Kshatriya, I'm not a Vaishya or a Shudra, nor am I a Brahmachari, a householder, a Vanaprastha or a sannyasi. I identify myself only as the servant of the servant of the servant of the lotus feet of Lord Śrī Krishna, the maintainer of the gopis. He is like an ocean of nectar, and he is the cause of universal transcendental bliss. He is always existing with brilliance.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
In short, we are aspiring to be the servant of gopis, right? Right? That's correct, right? The servant of the servant of the servant of the gopis. Who are the dear servants of Krishna? Who is the maintainer of the gopis? So what does it mean to be the servant of the gopis? That means the center of all the activities in the lives of gopis was Krishna. So we can also do this reflection. What is the center of everything in my life? What is my life centered around? We can ask that question to ourselves and we'll get the answer. That means, what is the most important thing to me? That's another way, same question. And when that thing is taken out, I will be miserable, isn't it? That means that's very, very important to me. And the common answer, job, right? If someone loses a job, like, they'll be very unhappy. Or someone loses their a near like family member, husband, wife, mother, father, grandfather, grandmother, etc. They'll be miserable, very unhappy. Or something happens to their possessions, home, car, etc., etc. They'll be miserable, right? That's what majority of the people, including myself. I'm talking about myself, I'm talking about anyone else. But for a devotee, for gopi, Krishna is missing, they are unhappy. Their happiness is there when Krishna is there. Krishna is gone, their life is gone. Their happiness is gone. This is gopi. Their happiness lies in keeping Krishna happy. Now Krishna is missing in action. How can they be happy? Manushya janama paya Radha Krishna na bhajiya janiya shuniya vishikhani. There are so many verses about this point that people try to make themselves happy in so many ways. Some think that new job will give me happiness, like myself. But very soon the real color comes, right? And then the same job becomes a cause of distress. Some people think new car will give happiness, but very soon someone scratches it and then real color comes. Some think that new home will give happiness. It may momentarily pleasure, but then same becomes a cause of distress. Or new ABCD, whatever. But the real happiness comes in connection to Krishna. So if your happiness is connected to the absolute truth, which is Krishna and Krishna consciousness, then it will be everlasting and ever increasing. Anandamaya Visa. Because we are pleasure-seeking beings. It's okay to seek for happiness. That's what we're all seeking for. But the real happiness lies by following the footsteps of gopis, Mahajana. These are the real Mahajana. And what is the formula here? When Krishna was there, they were happy. When Krishna was not there, they are unhappy. Prabhupada, I'm just repeating as it is. This is the real formula for happiness. So in short, we should keep our Krishna consciousness strong. And that will keep us happiness. The waves in the Trinavrata will not be able to bewilder us when the foundation of Krishna Bhakti will be strong. When the foundation of Krishna Bhakti is centered around materialistic things which are temporary, then the foundation is temporary. It will certainly shake. If not today, tomorrow. If not tomorrow, 1 month later. But when the foundation is strong, centered around Krishna consciousness, waves of the wind and waves of the hurricanes and tsunamis and will not be able to shake it. And that person will always be happy because of strong foundation of bhakti. So they're all lamenting. Krishna is missing. Let's see the next verse. So Shilpa Mataji, you want to read, please?
Yes, Prabhu, thank you. Text 26. Tranavarta santarayo vatya rupa daroharan krishnam nabo gato gantam nasaktanod bhuri bharabrat. Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Prabhupada Ki Jai. Having assumed the form of a forceful whirlwind, the demon Trinavarta took Krishna very high in the sky. But when Krishna became heavier than the demon, the demon had to stop his force and could go no further. Purport: here is a competition in yogic power between Krishna and Trinavatsura. By practicing mystic yoga, asuras generally attain some perfection in the 8 siddhis or perfections, namely anima, lagima, mahima, prapti, prakamya, isitva, vasitva, and kama vasayita. But although a demon may acquire such powers to a very limited extent, he cannot compete with the mystic power of Krishna, for Krishna is Yogishwara, the source of all mystic power. Yatra Yogishwara Harihi. Yatra Yogishwaro Hari. No one can compete with Krishna. Sometimes, of course, having acquired a fragmental portion of Krishna's mystic power, asuras demonstrate their power to the foolish public and assert themselves to be God, not knowing the God is the supreme Yogishwara. Here also we see the Tranavarta assumed the Mahima Siddhi and took Krishna away as if Krishna was an ordinary child. But Krishna also became a mystic Mahima Siddhi, Siddha. When Mother Yashoda was carrying him, he became so heavy that his mother, who was usually accustomed to carrying him, could not bear him and had to place him down on the ground. Thus, Tranavarta had been able to take Krishna away in the presence of Mother Yashoda. But when Krishna, high in the sky, assumed the Mahima Siddhi, the demon, unable to go further, was obliged to stop his force and came down according to Krishna's desire. One should not therefore compete with Krishna's mystic power. Devotees automatically have all mystic power, but they do not like to compete with Krishna. Instead, they fully surrender to Krishna, and their yogic power is demonstrated by Krishna's mercy. The devotees can show mystic yoga so powerful that a demon could not even dream of it. But they never try to demonstrate it for their personal sense gratification. Whatever they do is for the service of the Lord, and therefore they are always in a position superior to that of the demons. There are many karmis, yogis, and jnanis who artificially try to compete with Krishna, and thus ordinary foolish people who do not care to hear Srimad-Bhāgavatam from authorities consider some rascal yogi to be Bhagavan the Supreme Personality of Godhead. At the present moment, there are many so-called Babas who present themselves as incarnations of God by showing some insignificant mystic wonder, and foolish people regard them as God because of lacking knowledge of Krishna. Hare Kṛṣṇa, Prabhuji. So here, I'm glad to read this verse, differentiating between the God and Trinavarta, initially comparing between Krishna and Trinavarta, on how and the power of God versus power of demon. We all know that Krishna is God, then nobody can actually think of competing with Krishna, but we would be in a state sometimes when we think of something and that happens, we feel like we are we have achieved Krishna, not Krishna, but at least in this material life we think, okay, that's because of me which was done, but it's actually because of Krishna's mercy, because Krishna has become low to make us high, and that we think we are high, and we I don't know, I'm not sure if we would compete with Krishna, but at least the demons, in the purport that Prabhupada explained, the demons also have, they also do meditation. They also learn Vedas, I think, right? And they also know how to have that mahima, similar to Krishna, but that's temporary, not permanent. That's what Prabhupada is saying. And then and that's temporary, also successfully temporary, because Krishna made them temporary successful, right? It's with his agnya that they are successful temporary too, but they wouldn't know, because they would think, okay, because of my meditation and so forth, it's me, which I'm equal to Krishna. And devotees devotees, I think Prabhupada explained about the devotees also. The devotees should be thinking or think that we are serving Krishna rather than showing off our meditational powers. Or, if people come and ask us, probably we can explain, but we shouldn't say that, okay, since I've meditated and then did the japa, I've achieved this, so I'm in a kind of a higher level. I don't think we would compare with Krishna at that point too, but at least we should say something like we are serving Krishna rather than I was the one who meditated and I got the powers, something like that. Please add, Prabhu. Thank you. Please correct also. Thank you.
Mataji. Mentioning one should not therefore compete with Krishna. There are 8 mystic powers, as Prabhupada is mentioning, Anima, Lagima. So, pop quiz. What in this pastime, what mystic power Krishna showed first?
Logima.
Lagima. Okay, and where?
In the mother's lap.
Okay, so Lagima means what?
So that Trinavarta can, when she was the mother's lap, mother can take her, and she was taken by the Trinavarta. But she became heavier. Sorry, Mohima. She became heavier. He became heavier, and then mother has to put him back. But when Trinavarta came, he became Logima.
Yes. So first he showed Mahima, Mahan, heavy. Mother could not lift him anymore. Then If he would have been very heavy, Trinavrata, how would he be able, how will Krishna get the joyride, right? Merry-go-round, up, skydiving. Krishna wants to do all those sports, skydiving, what are all these? I don't know, but there people go up in the high, and then they jump off there. Like it's coming from Trinavrata. Bungee jumping. They go high and then they jump up there. So Krishna became light. But now in this verse, Krishna became heavier. So the engine, here Trinavrata, engine's capacity, the weight is increasing. The engine's power is like, I can't go anymore up. Now my engine is kind of, there's no strength. So he could not go up any further. All his, and Krishna is, it's not that Krishna suddenly, became the size of like a giant whale, or Krishna became the size of like a mountain. The acharyas mentioned that he was still like a baby, holding Trinavrata. The example given is Krishna like a pendant in the neck of Trinavrata. Like a pendant. I mean, what's the size of the pendant? Just think about, some of us have this chains and wear a pendant. It's just maybe like a size of a 1,000th part of the body, right? Even less than that. What's the proportion? A person can hold maybe 1,000 such pendants easily. So Krishna was like the size of a pendant in the neck. This is just to show, I mean, if they just show like a pendant here, it won't be even visible, right? In this picture, they just to help us understand that the Trinavrata was so huge and they had gone like way up in the sky, in the clouds. And now in the ground, everyone is lamenting. Where is Krishna? They were so high that probably they weren't able to see also. They're so high. Krishna really wants to do things to the extreme, right? But now, who can compete with Krishna is the master of mystics. What to speak of Krishna, the master of mystic, the devotee? There's a wonderful verse. Anyone can tell that verse? That one who worships Krishna is the best of the yogis, the best of the mystics. Anyone? It's in the 108 list also. Maybe it's in the 50 list also. Yoginam api sarvesham madgatin antaratmana shraddhavan bhajate yo mam sa me yukta tamo mataha. I'll read the translation. Of all the yogis, the one with great faith abides in me, thinks of me within himself, and renders transcendental loving service to me. He is the most intimately united with me in yoga and the highest of all. Highest of all. This is my opinion. My means Krishna's opinion. At the end of chapter 6, Krishna talks about, chapter 6 is, the nice transition, because Krishna talks about, different yogas like karma yoga, dhyana yoga, and ashtanga yoga, and this yoga and that yoga. And towards the end of chapter 6, he's about to begin the bhakti yoga, and this is a transition point. At the end of chapter 6, he's about to begin bhakti yoga in chapter 7 onwards. He's transitioning that amongst all the yogis, amongst all the mystics, those who are absorbed in me are the greatest of all. Yoginam api sarvesham sa me yukta tamo mataha. So even the devotees who worship Krishna, the greatest of the yogis, they do not show their mystic powers. Someone asked Prabhupada, hey, how can you show some magic? Because we have heard yogis can show some magic. Prabhupada said, look at these people. They were hardcore drug addicts, engaged in illicit sex, unclean habits, alcohol, wine, women, this, meat eating, whatnot, all the bad habits they had. But now they have given up even tea and coffee, what to speak of the other bigger ones. And they're living a pure Krishna conscious life. Can anyone do a bigger magic? This is real magic. To change the heart is the most difficult thing. Changing something external is creating some sand, creating some ash. What's the value of ashes? Ashes are ashes. So this is real magic, but the greatest of the yogis. So, and also inside Krishna is also thinking, we have come up too high now. At the my people are waiting. My mother, my gopis, everyone is waiting. I don't want to give them too much pain of suffering or lamentation of suffering. They're waiting. I need to get back. So he started to increase his weight. Yet he remained the same baby size, like a 12-month baby. He didn't. It's not that he grew to an adult size or bigger than Trinavat. The weight was so big. So that's the beauty in this verse. Anyone else? Yes. Any comments, thoughts so far? Any reflections so far? Shilpa Mataji, you have your hand up. Is it because of the previous thing, or you wanted to say something?
So sorry, Prabhu. Yeah, it's for the previous one. Sorry, I didn't put my hand up.
It's okay, Mataji. I hope it's not paining. It's been up since long.
Sure, no. Virtual. Thank
Any other thoughts, reflections, any comments anyone has before we move? Oh, sorry, before we wrap up.
So there are three, right, Prabhuji? One is anima means small, mahima means some, or large also, right, Prabhuji? And what's the other one?
The first Krishna showed Mahima, heavy.
Heavy.
Then Laghima. Laghu is basic. Anima is becoming smaller than the smallest, like atomic. Anu. Andantarastha paramanu chayantarastha. Anu means atomic. Anu Atma.
Okay.
Laghu here, Laghima is become lighter.
Lighter, okay.
So the size didn't change, but the weight changed.
Yes.
So in the Anima, the size changes. Like how Hanumanji put himself in the way when this was Shurasa or Shrimika, they opened their mouth big, Hanumanji quickly turned smaller, entered the mouth, came back. He showed Anima there.
Thank you.
Prabhu, I was just thinking, just to add two lines. In the last part put on devotees and karmis and yogis and jnanis, right? That's one of it. And relating that to the top portion on rakshasas or asuras, right? In the past, even in Ramayana, Ravana was also doing meditation and so forth, right? He did puja and he acquired good fortune from. I mean, he impressed Lord Shiva and he got a lot of boons, right? So there also, like he got, what I'm thinking, please correct me if I'm wrong, that is also because of Krishna's mercy, that he gave those boons to him, because what Ravana was doing is or did was praying God, right? He was also praying God, and praying Lord Shiva, which is again coming from Lord Krishna, right? So God was giving the boon, but it's how we use it, right? He gave the boon, he was praying, he got the boon, and now how to use it, right? If he's using for something negative, obviously he would lose, and what resulted is his death, right? And of course his death, going back to God, or whatever the result is, but he got death. Similarly, but if in case that is being used for good purpose, then God would be even more impressed, right? And he would take us back to us. So I just wanted to add, so it's us who decide how to use after we get the boon. Of course, we in this world we shouldn't show off, but
a few points,
yeah.
Mataji. You have shared a lot of points, but I want to share a few things. First of all, just to reiterate, these two lines are not talking about devotees, actually. They're talking about there are many karmis, jnanis, and yogis who artificially, externally try to compete with Krishna. And thus, ordinary foolish people who do not care or to hear from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam or authorities considered some rascal yogis. These are These are not here in these two lines. Prabhupada is not talking about devotees or Krishna conscious devotees. They're talking about artificially, so-called renounced Baba is not hearing Bhagavatam. They're swindlers, cheaters. They're not true. So they try to compete God. They say, oh, God did Rasa Leela, we will also do Rasa Leela. I'm not kidding, it's happening every day. So many swindlers are there. So, and innocent people, they get cheated. Oh, this Baba has thousands and millions of followers. Blind following the blind, andhantarasta, blind leading the blind. So this is not about devotees. That's point number one. Point number two, you have to understand the difference between the Supreme Personality of God. Prabhupada never used the word God actually much. Prabhupada used the word Bhagavan as Supreme Personality of Godhead. Just now I was hearing a Hindi video which I shared in the group. I'm not sure if anyone of you saw that. It's in Hindi for those who understand. It's a beautiful, beautiful video by Radha Govind Maharaj. He shares that the thing which Ravana got by chopping off his 10 heads and offering to Lord Shiva, the same thing and much more Vibhishana got just by bowing down to Sri Ramchandra. This is the difference between a person who approaches demigods for material gains and a devotee who just takes shelter of Krishna or Rama. Ravana approached Lord Shiva not in the mood of bhakti. It's okay to approach Lord Shiva if we are asking for bhakti. He is the giver, he's the Vaishnava Mitha Shambhu. But Ravana's intention was, first he wanted his own property. Then he realized, oh, I can't compete with Shiva. He's too powerful. Then he said, okay, you give me something. Then he asked for material benedictions. And the later part of the video, Maharaj explained that when the fight was happening, Lord Shiva was watching this fight. The demigods were watching Lord Ram and Ravana fighting. Right? Lord Shiva didn't help. Why? Because, as Mataji was telling, because if we use the things which are given to us by superior powers against the Supreme Lord, the superior powers will not help us. There are so many examples. Holika's story and so many other cases. Saraswati blessed that Brahmana, Digvijay Pandit, and he was competing with God, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Saraswati didn't help. So you have to understand the difference between the worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and demigods for material gains. It's a much, much different. So does that help, Mataji? To clarify your point?
Yes, Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu. Very much. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for your wonderful, thoughtful comments. Okay, so I think it's a little over time, so we will pause here and continue. Now Krishna has reached the peak. We'll see the descent tomorrow. Now the merry-go-round. Sometimes there's, have you been like in the merry-go-round and it stops and you are at the top and then you're seeing the whole view? So Krishna is like, now in the merry-go-round, they have reached the top. Now let him take the aerial view and let the gopis be in separation, and maybe tomorrow they'll get united. And the children come down and the parents are waiting. Okay, now my child has come back, and then they're happy again. So we'll see that tomorrow. Grantaraj Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam Purana ki jai, Śrīla Prabhupada ki jai, Samaveta Gaur Bhaktavinda ki jai. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripasindhubhyev cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaः. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.